So this is me about to go into the Fiddich Pool, or the tail end of the Fiddich. It's bonny bright sunshine just now, but it's been a morning of cold kind of showers for the north, and I've been using the Cadence 14'6" rod, but with the EVA handle, and I kid you not, this type of day, I mean, having been a traditionalist all my life, this type of day, fishing with this handle, absolutely brilliant. It keeps your hands much warmer than the normal cork. Anyway, I'm going to go into this Fiddich Pool, and I'm just going to show you my flea that I'm about to use. The pool is probably a wee bit, so there's the flea, focus on that. It's a friggy, a pal of mine in Iceland, Balder does them, and really quite successful. But we've got gin clear water. It's not just ideal for this fly, I wouldn't say, but we've got gin clear water, and I'm going to be fishing with an intermediate line, which is it's basically a bit of a hover line, and walking out into this pool. All the current and the channel is at the far side here, so it's just a gravel bottom pretty much all the way out here, all the way out. The pool actually fishes better about maybe 6-8 inches above where we are just now, but anyway, we'll give it a go. Might as well give it a go. I've not had a cast here this year. They've definitely been catching fish here when the water was higher. It's been good, you know, so anyway, might as well give it a wee try, irrespective of whether it's in height or out of height. You just never know. We can move the fly a wee bit as well. So I'm fishing intermediate line, and with a wee sink tip on it. So the intermediate line, or this particular intermediate line, is more like a hover really than anything else, and it's not got to go down that far. And I've got that friggy fly. It's got a copper head on it, and yeah, all good. So we'll just, I mean, it's always good, I reckon, to fish your fly out, irrespective of really fishing your fly out, rather than just pushing it way over to where you think the fish might be. You never know, there could always be a fish at your feet as well. You just never know. But in this pool, it's more likely that you're going to hook a fish over where the water's breaking off the Croy at the far side there. In that area, see some nice trout rising to the wee March browns as they're coming down. Nice to see it. The old smolts will be getting a wee taste for them on the way down just now. They'll be getting them into a feeding frenzy before they hit the ocean, and hopefully getting a better feed once they're out there. But you know, so the water's quite slow. It's a wee bit out of height, as I said, quite slow as it's coming round here. So this intermediate line with the sink tip and the heavy friggy fly, that's going to get down a good bit actually. It's not going to bottom out before it's coming round onto the dangle. Actually, I'm not going to let it quite come to the dangle here at this height. If it had been a wee bit higher, I would have definitely let it come round as far as it wants to come round. But we'll just help it. We'll just get a wee hand line there, just finishing it off as it's coming round there. Beautiful, beautiful pool. I mean, it really is one of these Spey pools to die for. You've got quite a lot of rough water on the pools below here, and it is pretty amazing really. They come through that rough water and then just sit into this glide at the end. And like I say, particularly when the water's that wee bit higher, this area that I'm in here right now can be really, really good. But they tend to move further up the pool, when the river's like this. Not so many stopping in this area just right now, but I say that within 1 mile below and 1 mile above, I know of 3 salmon that have been caught already today. So that can only be good. Can only be good. So intermediate line, heavy fly, slow lifting of the rod, pull it onto the surface, roll it onto the surface, and the casting. People think casting a sinking line of any description is really, really difficult. In actual fact, casting a sinking line is spey casting it absolutely simple, as long as the key thing is to get the line onto the surface first. That is the absolute key thing. So if I were to, just as I'm standing just now, that's me just got ready, if I were to lift, same as I would with a floating line, and make my swing, the line's all stuck under the water down there. There's no way that I'm going to get that line to move. Roll it onto the surface and keep the rod mobile, and because the line is much more dense, it is easy to cast it. Absolutely simple to cast it. Really, really easy. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, fishing a sinking line is all about getting the line on the surface, the whole line right on the surface, prior to making that sweep or swing. So it's the same age-old story, absolutely age-old, in that with all forms of spey casting. The lift of the rod is the prep, and everything has to be prepped properly prior to the swing. So that's it prepped now. Now I make the swing, everything's easy. Absolutely simple. The line flies out there, it's hitting that nice seam over there. I can hit that seam pretty much at any angle I want to, you know. So I mean, I might want to, in the next cast, I might want to just speed the line up a little, so in that I'll go a wee bit squarer with the next cast, and it's going to speed the line up in the first half of the swing. The next one after that, I might go a really shallow angle cast. That slows the fly down. I think it's always good to, there's this roll again, as it's rolling out I'm lifting, look, as it's rolling out I'm lifting, I'm keeping tension on the end of that line, and then it becomes really, really easy to cast. But anyway, away for that fishing. That time I put a slightly further downstream with the cast, and I put an upstream mend on it to slow it down in that area. But because the river's at this height, it is just right at this moment, it's a wee bit low for the pool, so we're trying actually to speed the fly up more than slow it down. But that said, it's often not a bad thing just to vary the speed of the fly in that area. And this time we've got a wee breath of wind coming upstream, so that's always annoying. So that's not the time that I would make my shallow cast, that's the time I'm going to make my square cast like this. So that's kind of working with the wind. If the wind's coming upstream, you want to be casting more like this, rather than casting into the teeth of it there. So yeah, it's horses for courses, and that's going to speed. There's going to be a wee bit more of a belly in the line this time because I've put the fly out squarer, and that's going to speed the swing of the fly up in the same area or a similar area to the last time it came round. But a lot of the time here you're actually trying to intercept fish that are on their way up, that are just going to stop. And to be frank, it really is about getting the fly close to a taken fish and knowing which part of the pool that the fish are going to be likely to be stopping in, and that's where local knowledge really comes into its own. I mean proper, comes into its own. If you've got someone, got a really good gillie and guide, they're going to tell you at every single height water, they're going to tell you pretty much exactly where the fish are likely to be lying, you know, and where you want to be, or likely to be stopping in this case, and where you want to kind of spend most of your time with, you know. You can change flies, change technique, change method as you go over that real good hot spots. But it's sometimes just nice to vary your fishing anyway. And I did a thing just the other day. It was about leader length for the trout and salmon, or leader are fish line shy or salmon line shy. Well, I actually don't think that they are line shy. And when you're fishing with these big tubes or sort of heavier tubes that we're fishing with, well, these friggies and other sort of cone heads that are quite heavy in weight, then it's good to counterbalance the fly on a fairly thick and robust bit of nylon. It's kind of horses for courses. You wouldn't tie a number 14 marked brown onto a 50-pound breaking strain line. By the same token, you wouldn't be tying a copper tube, very heavy copper tube, onto 6-pound nylon. It just doesn't work that, you know. So you have to be sensible about these things as well. But there we are. The current here is fairly slow. It's a shame that we've hit it in such low water conditions. That the pool here has been absolutely excellent this season. They've had a really good go in the higher water earlier on, but you never know. As long as that flies in the water, and it's a great pool for fish to stop in, whichever. And it's not about having ideal conditions all the time, because as salmon fishers we rarely get ideal conditions all the time. It's once in a blue moon that you'll come and everything will be absolutely perfect. But so you shouldn't ever expect perfect conditions all the time, that's for sure. And you just have to always make the best of the conditions that you've got, you know. My cousin used to have a great saying about it, and it involves peeing, but it's too rude for on here just now, but a very true saying. You can only work with what you have, you know, and you have to make the best of what you have. And sometimes it's a wee bit more challenging. All good for the salmon fisher, that should be all good, you know. It is a challenge, but if it was dead easy, I know for one that I wouldn't be doing it, that's for sure. I'm not interested in stuff that's easy. I'm interested in a good challenge, you know. So I think as salmon fishermen, that's kind of our psyche, really. All good. So we're here at it's basically the last days in April, and the trees, I think, are about 2 weeks behind where they normally are at this time. About 2 weeks behind, and that usually goes for nature, you know, right across the board. So the fishing and the water conditions are kind of more like what you would expect, especially the temperature of the water, more like you'd expect in kind of mid-April and not the end of April. And that's just what I was saying about conditions. I mean, that's a perfect example there of me not getting the line onto the surface of the water prior to making my swing. And if you don't do that, then the swing is going to be wrong and your anchor is going to be wrong. So it's really, really important that you get the line on the surface before you make that swing or sweep or whatever you want to call it. Very important. But there we go. So I was talking about the trees and the fact that I would say that it's more like what you would expect in mid-April right now. And I would say that the run of fish are as well. This week it seems to be that on one or two of the beats further downstream that the run has picked up a wee bit, and that's because the river's dropped and it's still cold. So that's the conditions that they're kind of like downstream of here at this time. So they're like cold and lower water, like what we have. I mean, at this moment it's probably about 6 inches above summer level, and I hear people often ask, they say, what is summer level, Ian? Well, if you look at the grass on the far side and you take the line of grass, you'll see that the level of the river is just still on the line of grass, and it's the same at this side. It's still on the line of grass. Once it starts coming away from the line of grass and you start seeing dry stones there, then you know you're getting below summer level, or what we would call normal level, whatever that may be, I suppose. But look, whenever I go to a river, doesn't matter what one I go to, that's the indicator that I look for. I look for the grass at the bank, and if I see that the grass is above the water line, I know that we're on a low water footing. And if I see the grass under the water, then I know that we're above the summer level. So I would kind of adjust my fishing and my tactics accordingly. So this next cast, so we've done maybe 5 or 6 casts where we're fairly shallow angle, and I'm moving the fly pretty constantly here. I'm just kind of short retrieves, very, very short retrieves there, and this time I'm going to do one where I'm going to just go a wee bit squarer. So I'll move the line 90 degrees here. To move the line 90 degrees, you're going to see me turn my body right round there, and that's picking the line up here and throwing the line out there. It's actually the big mistake that people make with that is that they do it with their arms. They do it with their arms and not their body. Their body should turn and almost look upstream. But lots of people make the big mistake of trying to do it just with their arms and not turn their body if they want to make a wide angle change, especially on single spey. Ideally you'd probably do it depending on the line you're casting. You'd maybe use a circle C or something like that, a heavy fly like I'm using with a sinking apparatus like I'm using. Circle C works really, really well with that particular setup. This line I'm using is although it's a shooting head, it's a long shooting head, so it's actually 50 feet long, and I've got a 10-foot leader on it. So the whole head of the line, the casting head that I'm casting off the top of the rod, is about 60 feet in length, including the sink tip. So I find it very comfortable with a 14'6" rod, casting a line of a length of maybe 4 times the length of the rod is really, really comfortable for me. In a pool like this, when you're looking to cast 30 yards of line to cover the pool, then that's really nice. 60 feet of line and another kind of 40 feet of shooting line. I'll just check that. That was a wee bit of carelessness when I crossed the line on the roll cast. So we'll just check as I'm fishing double hook, and because I am, it might have got turned over, but no, it's fine, absolutely fine. Old Friggy's good. Needs to start doing a wee bit better boulder. It's about time that fly was catching a fish. But I'm very confident in it, I have to say. There we go. That goes away out again, and it's just a fishy place with the tail end of the pool the way it is. It's just such a fishy place. And I can imagine if you had a draw here with the fly fishing that wee bit quicker. Oh, I think that would be mega tasty. Mega tasty. There we go. Wading in this pool is like just a dodo. I mean, it's much like a lot of the Spey, to be honest. In the tail end of these glides, you tend to have small gravel, not so much bigger gravel. Tends to be smaller, which makes the wading really easy under your feet. But I'm seeing some nice water. I mean, just out in front of me here, it does look about maybe 5 feet deep, about a metre and a third, metre and a half. And this area I think would be really good when the water's just up a wee bit more. Looks fantastic. You can imagine the fish coming through that rough water and then just settling in here. Really nice. So this Easter Elchies beat, it's opposite Upper Arundel on the other side. So this one's like a 4-rod beat, and that one on the other side is, I think it's 4 rods as well it fishes, or maybe 3. And so it does make it kind of busy, but the pools here are so big that they can definitely take a few rods, no question at all. A big pools. Yeah, there we go. That's him right over the streamy water now. We're coming towards the tail end, so I'm just going to lengthen the line slightly and see if I get a bit more of a swing on it out in there. Looks to be a bit that you might catch a fish, or a fish might hold in, possibly. You just never know. There's been quite a number of big fish here on the Spey this year. So it's normal, in a normal season anyway, that your early running salmon that are 2C winter fish tend to be about between, sort of, depending on when they come in, February £7, March £8, April £9. So they tend to be 2C winter fish, and then the 3C winter fish, they come in February, they could be £15, March they could be £18, April they could be 20 odd pounders, you know. And normally we have a situation in the Spey where the 2C winter fish will outnumber the 3s by about maybe 10 to 1 at this time. However, the last maybe five years, that number's been going back, and that's really interesting. I always think that when that's happening, that's a sign. It's a sign that there's a change going on, that there's something's changing in the world of the salmon, and that's a sign that the salmon are adapting to that change. For whatever reason that is, they are adapting to that change, and the species are so robust. You know, talk about them being extinct just now. I've always said I reckon there'll be salmon here when there's no man. You know, we certainly don't have as many salmon as we once did. That Of that there's no doubt at all, but they are a robust species, and I reckon they'll be swimming in this and other rivers when we're all gone. We're definitely not robust enough, no question at all. But the salmon most definitely are. So I'm coming down towards the tail of the pool now, so it's going to shallow out. So it's not, for me, if it was a month later, this area would be great, you know, with the slightly warmer water. But at this moment, this streamy water, the fish are more likely to come through the streamy water and stop in an area like this, rather than stop in the streamy water. So the neck of the pool up there might be a better shout as well for a fish rather than the tail, but you just never know. You never know with salmon. They always throw up the unexpected. Great beasts for sure. And what could be better than casting a fly on this beautiful place, beautiful spring day, and hoping and expecting and anticipating a salmon to be coming up through here, and maybe, just maybe, I'm going to be lucky enough for that fish to grab my fly. You never know. You just never know. As my old boss Sir David used to say, Ian, there's always an enchanting moment. Always. And no matter what, he was right. He never went to the river without thinking that he was going to catch a fish. He was always positive, and it's a great attribute to have if you're salmon fishing, is to be positive and to enjoy not only the casting but the fishing part of it as well. So many people now get bogged down with this casting business. We've designed all these lines and rods to make things so much easier for everybody to cast, but we forget about the actual fishing, or many do. I certainly don't. I love my fishing, and I love concentrating on what I'm doing, and looking for the signs of a fish. You just never know when he's going to be there. The fly is actually moving at a much better pace now, but I can feel it actually bumping along the bottom. So I've got a feeling if I wasn't fishing such a deep setup, I would go down probably another, I don't know, a good few yards towards the tail, but because I've got a long line out here, and I've got a thinking line, then I'm thinking this is going to be my last cast. There we go, last cast, done, dusted. So let him come round, see what happens. Come on, baby. Come on, baby. Slide my fire. What would Elvis say if he was fishing? Is that what you said? What would Elvis say? He'd say, come on, salmon. Come on, salmon, make my day. Oh no, sorry. That was the Terminator. Well, that was the Elvis impersonation of the Terminator. Come on, salmon, make my day. Oh no, that was the Elvis impersonation of the Terminator and Clint Eastwood. Make my day. Last one. That's it. That's all you're getting, salmon. I'm going to speed that up by walking out. Many a salmon I've had doing this because I've just speeded the fly up with a constant swing on the thing, and it appeals to the salmon as I'm walking out. But not this time, as with most of the time I do this, not this time, but one or two occasions it's worked for me. There we go. So that was it. That was the tail of the Fiddich. Fished at 5 inches on the gauge. 5 inches on the gauge. It's a wee bit low for it. Not too low, but a wee bit. And here we are. Now you can hear that noise of this reel. Look at this baby. Perfect. That's our bespoke cadence reel. It's made in the UK and caught 30 pounders and is absolutely wonderful. I love it.